For 20 years, local veterans have remembered those that gave the ultimate sacrifice during the holiday season, and that tradition shows no signs of stopping tonight. Members of Operation Fallen Flags hung up a Wreath of Honor at the LZ Peace Memorial in Rockford. 69 names are on the memorial, and there are 69 individual light bulbs that were lit throughout the wreath. Each year, the wreath has been donated by Didier Greenhouses. Veterans with Operation Fallen Flags add there's more to see at the memorial than just the wreath.
There's other things here like Agent Orange Memorial, and Purple Heart Memorial for people that were wounded or lost their lives in the war. So there's many things to see here. Time to come out and just to walk around and appreciate what we have here.